The band's all here. Waiting for Kirsten.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've got 6 o'clock, so let's get going. Hopefully she can join. Well, thank you for attending tonight's regular meeting of the Village of East Dundee dated Monday, April 19th, 2021, 6 p.m. Catherine, could you take the roll, please?
Bynum.
Here.
Trustee Selleck.
Here.
Trustee Wood. Trustee Mahoney.
Here.
Trustee Andreessen.
Here.
Trustee Coonsey.
Yes, here.
And President Miller.
Here. Now we will bypass the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. We will open it up for public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will move directly to open a public hearing. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing for the to consider the proposed budget for next year?
I'll make a motion to consider a proposed budget and appropriations for the village's fiscal year 2021 to 2022 for the period of May 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022.
Second.
Very good. Public hearing is now open. Do we have anybody out here who would like to address the board regarding the public hearing on the budget? Greg, there's no time that we need to commit to keeping this open. Is that correct?
It's correct. The notice of public hearing is in your packet that was published in the newspaper that let people know how to participate, and unless anyone's present, you could ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I do not see anybody from the public on here, so I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the board during this public hearing? Seeing as none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Give it to me.
Jump out. Well, we have somebody that just joined. So I'll throw that out one more time. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board during the public hearing session on the proposed budget?
I think
Okay.
I'm still connecting.
Looks
to
like
audio.
someone's connecting.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Still connecting.
The gentleman, Todd Schaefer, who's connecting, he's with Dixon Engineering.
Okay.
And he would be available this evening, should anyone have questions about that agenda item, so.
Thank you, Phil, for that clarification. Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Catherine, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Lineham to close.
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Selleck.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Andreessen.
Yes.
I hear your audio kicked out.
Coonsey to close the public hearing.
Yes.
And President Miller.
Yes. Okay, we have no consent agenda items tonight. We have a bunch of other agenda items, so let's take these in order. First, we need a motion to approve the ordinance adopting the 2021-2022 annual budget.
I will move to approve the ordinance adopting the 2021 and 2022 annual budget.
Very good. Do we have a second? Okay. And discussion on this?
Well, I have some thoughts.
Mhm.
I guess, first off, there was a note that Jennifer, you wrote about this Hager Pottery property and the consulting on that. That's not in this budget, is that correct?
No, it's not. It would have to be added to, I was suggesting the Dundee crossings in downtown BDD.
Okay.
But can I ask what Hager property, right on 72 there, or what are we referring to?
The Hager Pottery building.
Oh, the building itself. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we, maybe given what I'm about to say, maybe we'll just shelf that for now. But I have concerns based on how the election went here in town about the future of East Dundee. And given that we don't have any knowledge about whether or not staff will be retained or any staff, and we haven't been able to get a commitment on that either way. I would like to add into the budget a couple of things. First off, I'd like to add money for consultants to find professionals to replace any professional staff that are let go. I know that personally, I will not vote to approve any village administrator who is put forth that does not have experience as a village administrator, or at least, 4 years as an assistant village administrator, something to that effect. So we went through this already in East Dundee with Bob Skirla, with an underqualified village administrator, which was under Jeff's tenure when he was on the board. I'm sure he understands. And it's my understanding that during that time, bad information was given to the board. And that's why we were put in such a terrible situation financially. And the last thing I want to see is for the village to go down that path again. And it makes me real nervous when we get campaign material in the mail about how we pay too much to staff and all that. Like, we're going to shortcut and fire a bunch of people and under budget everything so that we could just have some guy off the street running the village. And who knows what that'll lead us to again. And so I want to add, I did a little research, and a consultant to hire to do a search for qualified professionals might be about $15,000. I'd like to add that times 3 just in case. And I want to add this all provisionally with the caveat that if we retain staff and we don't need to use these dollars, it can go back into the general fund at the end of the year. I have no problem with that. But I'd like to add $45,000 for those consultants. And I'd also like to add $30,000 for a special legislative counsel that if our attorney is not retained and we're replacing them with an attorney that the board can't trust, that we would be able to hire our own attorney to fact check what is put forth to the board, again, under the light of the fact that this has already happened in this town. We've already had a bad attorney that led the board in a bad direction and caused all sorts of problems that we've been spending the last 4 years getting out of. So I would say I'd like to amend my motion to add $75,000 in provisional dollars for the items that I just outlined.
Can we ask questions before we would, because I would be amending my second, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Jennifer, there's that organization that you go through, like when we're looking for when we found Phil and when we found some other people, isn't there like an organization that works with villages as far as like identifying candidates?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's an organization called GovHR who does recruitment, and they also do temporary placement of people who are in transition between municipalities. So I've used both in the past, and they know everybody in our field. So they are the go-to or organization I would hire.
How is their fee structure? Is it along Scott's ideas where it's going to be like 15,000 per head?
Yes.
Okay.
You can get less. You can, obviously they can develop different packages for you. But if you wanted to do it more like from the beginning to the end type of recruitment, the 15,000 would probably suffice.
Okay, and they do vetting and they give you backgrounds and they give you like,
Yeah, they usually will do the recruitment brochure, and then they'll go out and do recruitment amongst people they know who may be leaving or looking to leave or have left. And then they would then prepare like some sort of document binder with kind of ranking the people. They usually do the first interview like via Zoom or Skype. And then they give you all this information with the candidates ranked in like maybe 2 different tiers of who you should really look at. So it's a good process because they know all these people for the most part. So they know more than you're going to know by just looking at a resume, and they can attract people that would not otherwise be attracted.
okay, yeah, 'cause it sounds like it's basically like a very industry specific headhunter, because I've
It
worked with headhunters in different industries and the results have gone from amazing to what the hell did we just waste our money on?
Tragic.
So, okay,
True.
Yeah,
Yeah,
traffic-
it's only government people. They won't bring you non-government people.
okay, and then as regards like a legislative council, and I apologize, can someone explain that concept to me a little bit more?
Well, my understanding is that we are able to retain counsel. For instance, if the village decides, or the village, village residents decides, and Greg, Jennifer, you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. If it's so decided that we're going to switch to a different legal team, that we can, as a board, retain our own legal services to protect the board against misinformation or whatever, bad legal advice.
The second set of eyes.
And it's, what's that?
It's a second set of eyes for the board.
Exactly. It's like a second opinion, independent. And we can, I think that, and Greg, maybe you could answer this. I think we would even be able to retain Greg's firm, who knows about the village and knows what, we're looking at in terms of, our struggles and everything like that, our background, we would be able to, is that true, Greg? Do you know?
I can speak to the first of your questions, which is that the courts have held within certain parameters that boards of trustees may retain their own attorneys separate and apart from the official municipal attorney or village attorney in your case. There's case law, there's parameters on that. I'm not ready to speak to it. I had no idea that this was going to be raised tonight. But in general, that is the case. And communities do that from time to time. With regard to Kleinthorpe and Jenkins being available to serve in that capacity, haven't thought about it, don't have an answer for you. But if
Sure.
we're no longer serving as village attorney and we're invited to serve as legislative counsel, we'd certainly look into that and get you an answer.
Okay.
Jennifer, is there 75 grand that can be found in the budget to accommodate these additions?
Yes, here, bear with me 1 second while I
I know this is kind of last minute, but
look towards, yeah, I'm just taking a quick glance. I just got to get to the right page.
I got a
So
question
we
here.
do have
I could ask
okay, so it looks like, okay, so in order to accommodate the 2 changes that were proposed at from the budget workshop draft to here, it did look like we had to, it looks like we're break even on the general fund. But we do have, as indicated on page 27 of your packet, above and beyond the reserve, we have over $700,000. So at the end of the day, the general fund wouldn't be balanced, but you would be using a small amount of surplus if that's what the board chose to do.
Can I ask whether the board can do that? I mean, we're talking about, I mean, I have no questions about the items specifically, but we're talking about making a proposal to the budget that we've just closed a public hearing to approve. And in addition to which, if we're now talking about implementing this additional cost and we end up with an out of balance or an unbalanced fund to accommodate it, I'm not so sure of it from an accounting standpoint, if that's even allowed. I mean, this is creative, I'll give you that, but I'm not sure that we would even be able to do this.
We're able to make changes following the public hearing. We're just required by law to have the hearing. We've had the hearing. Attorney Smith, you have any other comments about that?
Yeah, the state law says on this point, and I'll just read it, that after the public hearing and before final action is taken on the appropriation ordinance, the corporate authorities may revise, alter, increase, or decrease the items contained in the budget document. This is different than your property tax levy, where you're limited in some ways to how much you can go up or down based on your proposed levy. But when it comes to the budget document, you're not locked into what is presented during the hearing from a legal perspective.
Okay. So
All right, I will amend my second because I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so we have a proposal on the board to change the motion. Attorney Smith, at this point, do we we would just go ahead and take a straight vote on this, am I correct?
Yes, so just so that we're clear, Trustee Coonsey made the original motion, seconded by Trustee Andreessen, which was subsequently to approve the budget as presented. That motion was subsequently amended to add in the 2 line items as presented by Trustee Coonsey, which Trustee Andreessen agreed to allow to be amended into the main motion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct, but before we vote on this, I feel like if anybody else has anything they want to talk about, we should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that next. So
Okay.
Trustee Coonsey has added a few items on here. We are still under discussion on item A. So let's continue. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to discuss on this?
Yeah, I had one other issue in regards to training. I don't know if every dollar amount across all of the different departments for training has been added up to fulfill that whole training amount or not. But I would also like to institute a new policy that we've had to do at my work. It's a state of Illinois policy for discrimination and her workplace harassment training. I'm asking, and I don't know, Jennifer, is staff currently doing that? It was instituted in 2020.
We do have it assembled. I think Brad would be able to talk about that better, but it was going to be done. We have like a presentation that needs to be sent out and just an acknowledgement that needs to be submitted. And actually it's just in that, we're just at that stage where it was going to be sent out, but just hasn't yet because we're in the middle of open enrollment. So we have it all planned, but it doesn't have a cost to it.
Okay, great.
We can fulfill it just by basically doing a PowerPoint.
Great. And policy wise, I'd like to expand that beyond just the full-time and part-time staff to incorporate also the village board, and all of the commissioners, any contractors, which is actually what the state of Illinois requires. So I think that'll be a good thing to keep the village in compliance and also give everybody a refresher on what is appropriate and inappropriate conversation, that type of thing.
So would there be a cost to that?
Well, doesn't IML provide that for municipalities? Like tutorials and so forth, and then actual like a webinar kind of thing. I think they do. They make that available. Or if you wanted to go, further, you could actually you could set up like a conference, if you will, for training purposes.
I think the relevant
We have
question,
the material, so I don't think it will be a cost.
yeah,
Um,
the relative question here is, should this something that the board decides is mandatory for both employees and elected officials? And B, if there's a cost involved, then it becomes part of the budget.
Budget, yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Thanks, Leo.
Okay, so whether or not there's a cost involved, and it doesn't sound like there is, if in fact that's something that the board wants to move forward and make a permanent change, that's a policy change at this point, am I correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be a budget issue.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
Very good, that takes us to item B. If I could have a motion on this, please.
I'll make a
I move
motion
to-
to approve the full year 2021, 2022 compensation plan.
Second.
Very good, discussion on this? Wow. Catherine?
trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us on to item C. If I could have a motion on the code amendment?
I'll move to approve an ordinance amending chapter 34 of the village code regarding a cash balance policy.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I've read this and I just want to make sure I'm understanding this properly. We're saying that we're going to budget in basically every year a fixed amount or a percentage of our budget to go towards cash reserves. But once it hits a certain level, then do we have to continue doing that, or will it just be, it could just be at that level then?
So each year you would calculate that amount, and the amount may go up because it's a percentage of expenditures. So expenditures will go up over time. So if the amount is already satisfied, you just determine the excess, and the policy says where the excess will go.
Okay.
And
So
in
you-
both
you
cases,
could roll
would
it
go to
over from
capital.
last year, basically. No.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have the ability to change that percentage from 35 to whatever, or does that have to just be a new ordinance?
It would be a new ordinance. What this ordinance does is it took the policy that was presented at the budget workshop and it actually puts it in our village code. Because if you don't, sometimes these policies get lost. So in order to amend the village code further, you would need a new ordinance to do that.
Okay.
Okay, we all clear on that one? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
Okay, item D.
Yes, but I didn't hear you. But
Okay, we have a motion on item D, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance committing portions of the cash fund balance in the general fund and water and sewer fund and transferring and restricting fund for capital projects.
Second,
second that.
good, discussion?
I would just add that the amount that is transferred to capital be reduced by the $75,000 that's no longer available due to adding it to the budget.
Do we want to amend our motion?
Yes,
We
so
want-
amended to remove the $75,000 from the general.
And who made the second?
Trustee Coonsey.
Trustee
All
Coon,
right, I will amend my second, yes.
very good. Any further discussion?
It's got one little quick typo on here on page 137. If you take a look at, well, the sentence says, whereas as required by the cash balance policy, the minimum committed cash balance reserve in the general fund and water and sewer fund shall be 50%, and then it's followed by 35% in parentheses. Carried out throughout this is 35% in number, but it indicates 50 in text. So a little bit of a snag there. We might want to correct
It
that.
should be 35. So is that all right to amend that? Sorry
But
for
it-
that.
It says
technicality.
50, so.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So on the line, it's what is the third paragraph?
The third, yeah.
Yeah, the third paragraph, the word 50, FIFTY, should be amended to 35%, 35.
And that was your motion?
That was my motion.
Okay, and then Scott, you were the second on this?
I will amend my second again.
Very good. Anything else on D? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
yes,
trustee Mahoney,
Yes,
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Very good. Item E, please.
I will move to approve an ordinance amending ordinance 17-40, the garbage and refuse sunset date extension.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on E, please.
Well, I would like to revisit, we talked about this a little bit during the meeting, but I would like to see if, as we increase our rates, if we can decrease this fee proportionally over time. I don't know if that's a good idea to put that in this budget. Maybe we start it next year, but I don't know. What does everybody else think?
This is our second year in a row that I can recall, maybe even more now, that we've blown by the sunset extension or sunset date. And so, I'm struggling with this one. I mean, it seems as though there's room to move within the budget. We just did it tonight. And imagine if we were really to sharpen our pencils, we'd be able to get rid of this altogether. So we put it on the backs of the residents, and it was based on the understanding, it was a stipulation based on the approval of home rule status back when the board at that time came to the village and said that if the village approved, if the residents approved home rule status, that for the newly created home rule sales tax fund, the garbage refuse fee would be taken out of that. Okay, that's fine. The village at that time approved it. And of course, we found ourselves in a little bit of trouble. We went ahead and put this back on. That's the history of it. But when we've agreed to put this back on the residents, it was with the understanding that it was going to be sunsetted. And I think a better effort could have been made to adhere to that agreement. And we, I guess, whatever the situation is, have now found ourselves to extend it a second time. And I'm not going to support this.
this was baked into the budget though, and could have been a part of, and drilled down more into the budget discussions if that was something that you really wanted to change, and if you could gain the agreement with everybody on the board to make that change and to really look into it. So
Well, I mentioned it at the budget meeting that we had, that I wasn't in favor of it then, but I'm just one voice. And so if this is a separate agenda item here, it takes a yea or nay vote. That's just like any other agenda item. So
I think Kathleen is just suggesting that we need solutions as to where we're going to come up with the money, whether it's a reduction or getting rid of this at all, as opposed to just being in opposition of it.
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, don't we supplement a fairly substantial portion of the refuse collection fees already?
We do offer the senior discount, and we also offer now free leaf collection. And then we provided the residents with card options to make their rate even cheaper. And if you're a senior who goes with the smallest card option, you actually get a double discount. So although we haven't like sunsetted the ordinance, we have made changes along the way to make it better and cheaper for the residents. And I think the direction of the village board was to study this further and come up with, develop the solution, which probably needs to be done, in a series of meetings.
I mean, I agree that I would like to see this thing actually phased out over time. I mean, but I just don't know that it would be feasible or even doable.
Well, I would suggest that somebody put this on their calendar, that 6 months before the budget meeting, we start having a serious discussion about this and trying to get our hands around how we could reduce that, whether that's reducing 20% a year for 5 years or whether that's reducing 100%. I just don't know that we're going to come up with anything different tonight.
Okay.
Anything else? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
No.
trustee Sella,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Okay, here's a controversial one. Who wants F?
We'll move to approve a resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code.
Awesome. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Discussion on this?
Can you give us background?
Yes, I can certainly do that. Good evening. So the official fiscal year 22 budget appropriates $290,600 in expenditures for the coming year, of which 105,000 will be appropriated for streetlight electricity, road salt, streetlight maintenance, which involves essentially the replacement of 2 damaged or streetlight poles that are either damaged or run over, as we've had this past year. And then also 1 component of our street improvement project, which is pavement patching. And the balance of that $290,000 would go towards our street improvement program this year. We don't yet, the IDOT paperwork requires that we specify what streets will be resurfaced. And so we have not yet generated that paperwork yet. Joe Hines and his firm and I are working on developing a program, and the paperwork, so the IDOT forms associated with expending those dollars will be brought to you at a date closer to when we have a program identified.
Thanks, Phil. Just out of curiosity, how many streetlights have been damaged on Route 72 this year? I think it was 2. That's it?
2 have been taken down, yes. And they both should be both replaced here before the end of the month, hopefully.
Good.
And Phil, were they taken down due to damage of the plows?
No.
No, one occurred during a snow event. And I don't know that the second one was, I believe the second one was an overnight situation. I'd have to take a look at the paperwork, but I know one was during a snow event, and it's my understanding that it was on both of the poles that were taken down or were knocked down are on the north side between River and Van Buren. Mm-hmm. So on the downhill side so on the westbound lane, essentially, on the north side of 72.
Hey, Phil, when something like that happens, like if there's like a black ice incident or a snow incident and somebody just like slides into it, or somebody had a few too many cocktails and drove into it, is that something where like the driver's insurance reimburses the village for that?
Correct. Both of those are in, claims have been filed. I don't know, Brad, if you have a comment on where those claims might be, the status of those 2 claims. I don't recall.
Yeah, both of the claims have been filed, and the insurance company is working with the driver's insurance company for reimbursement at this time.
Okay.
This is actually our street light replacement program.
Mm-hmm.
They knock down old poles and we get new poles, so.
Yeah,
there is a silver lining to it.
Just not putting salt next to the lights we want to replace.
Yeah, not like the police cars.
Well, if it snows tomorrow, we'll get another light out of this, right?
I'm staying home.
Hopefully not.
Anything else on F, guys?
Quick question. Do we have to get Illinois Highway Authority to spend any other motor fuel tax funds? I mean, if we're going to go ahead and use, and essentially the MFT has to be spent on roads. I get that, but I don't recall if we were going to do any road work patching, but in this instance, it says paving, that we would have to get Illinois Highway approval to do it.
Yeah, so because we've appropriated funds in our motor fuel tax fund, we, and with this paperwork, we're essentially telling the state of Illinois that how we're going to spend those MFT dollars. So that at the end of, or the conclusion of the fiscal year, we'll let them know how we spent the money during the course of the year. And this year, so we do have some dollars appropriated for pavement patching, but then also a resurfacing program. And we're working on identifying the list of streets for the resurfacing program. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering if this is something we're going to have to apply for on a regular basis, approval to spend anything that's coming out of motor fuel. Can it only be done, I mean, at budget time, or is this, whenever we need to spend it?
You're required to pass this resolution with anything you budget from MFT, and it has to be a qualifying expense. Then you file paperwork at the end with what these expenses were, and IDOT can come back and audit you at any time.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say it's approval. They've already told us what we can and cannot use the money for, and so we're just telling them this is what we're using it for.
And it's also based on how much money is in the motor fuel tax fund. Obviously, we couldn't spend beyond the current balance that's in that fund.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, anything else on F?
No, I'm sorry, one little question for just education purposes. Would we be able to subsidize the MFT with another fund, say money out of the general, if we found that, there was a pending expense that we didn't have enough to cover in the motor fuel?
Yes.
We could, okay.
Well, we would use other funds, but we wouldn't transfer it into MFT. Necessarily, because we don't want that in the audit trail, for example. Like MFT wants to see MFT dollars go in and MFT dollars go out. They don't want to see a transfer of other funds coming into MFT, and then you wouldn't want to do that because MFT has additional requirements. So like, for example, we've done street projects from the Street and Bridge Fund because they don't have any MFT requirements. So that's usually the way we would do it. We would just charge the balance to another fund that didn't have any requirements. We like to avoid MFT when possible, actually, because of the extra paperwork and auditing that they do. So does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go on item F. Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
yes,
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That takes us to item G, which is professional services on the Route 25 water. If we can have a motion on that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement between the Village of East Dundee and Dixon for professional services, the Route 25 water tower repainting and engineering.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Captain?
The only thing I would mention is we would be coming back to the village board with some branding suggestions and logo. Not only this is a necessary infrastructure project, but it's a good time to brand ourselves, and we'll be coming back to you with that in the near future about what that might look like. So stay tuned. And look at water towers over the next month or so. Check them out and see which ones you like and don't like.
Very
Can we
good.
put my face on it? Any chance of that happening?
Whose face?
Mine.
No.
Zero chance.
Nice try.
All right. Catherine, call the roll, please.
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sella,
yes,
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
All right, very good. That takes us to item H. Somebody could make this motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance approving the issuance of a TIF note to Pal Land LLC, Route 25 TIF District, TIF note number 9 in the amount of $266,437.69.
Very good. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on this.
So we're doing, this is a note in the same vein that we did with the JB Rider and the GAC guns. Is that accurate?
Not entirely. These notes we generate and they're backed by 90% of the TIF increment that are accrued or earned on the Terra Business Park property. So by the developer. So JD Byrider was a bond that the village took. So that's different, which was backed by partially by JD Byrider, partially by the village. This one is a note we issue and we pay back as TIF funds are received on those subject properties. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense, but I guess my question is, we as a board said we didn't want to do upfront payments anymore on TIFs, and this essentially is a bypass to get them their upfront money, and then we pay it back, or are they paying it back, or are we paying it back?
Well, it's not necessary. It's not upfront money. So the village had started a redevelopment agreement with Pal Land in 2007. It was amended in 2012. So it said to Pal Land, you can go spend $10 million putting in roads and infrastructure, everything you need to create an industrial park, because that land was basically, empty land.
Okay.
And it wasn't in the state of being developed. So they said, if you do that, we'll let you accrue up to $10 million and then we'll pay you back 90% of what is earned. And then we keep the remaining 10%. So like in the beginning, nothing was earned. And now increment is rolling in with all the developments like Enterprise, Speedway, et cetera. And then now the developer gets paid back. So it's not fronted money, it's a payback from what was earned on the property.
It's like a secured promissory note that's secured by the TIF revenues.
Yes, and so we don't actually have to pay anything back that is not earned on the property.
Okay.
Like if the TIF ends and we still owe him $5 million, he's just out $5 million.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only paid out of realized revenues.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on H? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Selip,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That takes us to item I, which is a similar item. If we can have a motion on that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance approving the issuance of a TIF note to Pal Land LLC, Christiana Drive TIF District, TIF note number 7 in the amount of $77,379.98.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion on this?
Same situation as the first, correct?
Yep.
Right.
Okay, Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Selip,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
All right, we have item J, which is approving meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular village board meeting minutes dated April 5th, 2021.
Second.
Way to bury the lead on this one.
Any discussion? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Selip,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Finally, we have 2 proclamations, one for Ann Miller and one for Arbor Day. Obviously, the one for Ann Miller is more exciting. Those are in your packets. We have the financial reports in your packets. I have no report this evening. We'll go around the board. Trustee Coonsey.
Okay. Phil. I got a message from Dairy Queen that they've been having repeated issues with their water coming out dirty, discolored. I don't know if maybe you could just talk to them and reach out and maybe look into that a little bit. I would appreciate it.
Yes,
I
I
guess,
do.
I guess Jennifer is your boss, so maybe we should ask Jennifer if that's okay. But
They
I
reached,
think it would be good just to,
Oh, that's not okay. No, we want our ice cream good, so can you?
yeah, exactly.
Take care of that.
They say it happens on the same day every week. I think it's Tuesday, which seems really strange. But they did just do a bunch of renovations, including, I guess, plumbing maybe. So I don't know. I don't
have you
know.
been made aware of this?
What's that?
I said, I'm asking Phil if he'd been made aware of this.
Not Dairy Queen. I was going to say, we've had in the Terrace neighborhood subdivision, we have had some calls recently about discolored water, and we're currently investigating those calls, but nothing down in that Dairy Queen area. I know, Greg, you're on the call here this evening. Are you aware of any discolored water down near downtown Dairy Queen area?
We did get one call from a resident on Railroad, I believe Friday last week, and we were able to make contact with them and get everything squared away. But that's the only one in any recent memory that I can recall.
Okay.
Well, Trustee Coonsey, we'll reach out to Dairy Queen and find out a little bit more about their specifics.
Okay, if you need a number for the owner, I can get that for you.
Okay.
I'd also, like to say goodbye to half of our board and our village president. You've all done good work and helped me out a lot, including Scott, who encouraged me to run in the first place. So I appreciate that. And I guess that's it. Yeah, that's it for me.
Just one comment on your first item there. I would encourage, and I understand this, I think probably more than anybody, when you get that phone call and people call you up and say, hey, I've got a problem with this, or I've got a problem with that. And I would encourage you to say, have you called the village yet? And,
Well, I did say that. And see, here's the thing. My son is a manager at Dairy Queen.
Okay.
So it's, he reports these issues on behalf of his boss, who I think doesn't want to bother people. So, yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Very good. Where are we? Trustee Sullivan.
No report.
Trustee Andreessen.
I'm assuming we got one more meeting, at least when we get sworn out, so I'll say my goodbyes for that.
Yes.
meeting. But
Oh, that's right. You guys are going to be there May 3rd, aren't
you
you?
can say goodbye twice. I appreciate it. That has known the Andreessens for about 60 years, had an issue with some billing with the village. I sent it over to Village Hall and it was immediately taken care of with about 27 emails to him confirming that it was taken care of. So thank you very much for taking care of Mr. Fritz.
Good, thanks. Trustee Lineham.
No report if we are going to have another meeting. Otherwise, I was going to do the same and thank the outgoing board members. So we'll wait for next week.
Good. Kathleen.
Well, I'm going to just jump ahead because I know you guys might not want to stick around for the whole board meeting on the 3rd. And if you're out of here, fast. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank Dan and Kirsten and Scott Andreessen for all of the partnership, as well as the incredible leadership of Lael and the team that Jennifer has built. It's one of the highest functioning teams that's really focused on the resident that I have worked with in the various administrations and various mayors and administrators that I've worked with. So I really want to thank you. I also want to take a moment just to kind of highlight for everybody here or that might watch it and take stock in the accomplishments that Jennifer outlined in her letter. And because they're no small feat. And together as a highly functioning collaborative team, we've been able to accomplish this together with great dedication. So going back to that, it started out with a strategic plan that we put together, and we really aligned and put together a great vision and a set of goals that, when I look at goals that other corporations or companies or teams have put together, they've not reached the potential and the completeness, the level of completeness that this team has. So the strategic plan highlighted the following attributes that we wanted to create and work towards: to create a well-known, livable, and walkable community, financial stability and sustainability, sustainable infrastructure and IT, economic development, and sustainable service delivery through staff support and development. So in creating a well-known and walkable, livable community, that a lot of that has to do with communication and our outreach, and inviting not only our residents, but our guests and friends and family of neighboring villages to really partake of the village and shop, play at the incredible community events that are put together, as well as invest in the community, in their businesses and opening up businesses. And I think nothing highlights that better to the outside and people that may not read Facebook or Nextdoor or even the Quarterly, the banners and the things that we are doing in the village to create and really reinvent and invite people to the community. Under financial stability, we've got the cash balance policy that we just discussed, and we are committed to a vehicle and capital improvement plan by our budgeting process. And instead of having to take out bonds, we are anticipating these expenses and these very large expenses that we might incur in the future. We're maintaining a conservative approach to spending and ensuring that what we budget, we don't exceed. And within sustainable infrastructure, oh my gosh, the IT and the communications, nothing, it's so completely different. Thanks to everybody that worked on that. It is really, really incredible to see our new website. If you haven't seen it yet, take a look. And then as well as other roads, street, water, sinkholes, infrastructure improvements that have been made in various areas of the community. In addition, the leaf collection, it's a great service to the village. We'll work through the details of it. Economic development has been really incredible and just supercharged under Lael's leadership and Jennifer, and the types of deals that we're being able to, and the people that we can attract to the village. So El Tower for Cat, that huge building on the south of 72, that wasn't even that property wasn't even part of the village until a couple of years ago. And look at where we are now. And then the Route 72, Christina, and the light, that never ending light, but that's out of our control. Some of that's out of our control.
Never starting light, you mean?
Yes. And then just attracting new businesses within the downtown area, Nono's Cafe, DC Cobb's, and some people moved around within and into the downtown area. And then again, the new construction that we talked about, El Tower for Cat, Eula Van Carriers, Chicago Nut and Bolt, and American Elevator out in our parks, our industrial parks. Many remodeling projects, and then sustainable delivery and staff development is just the communication that we've been able to keep, the reduction in budget based on the challenge that we anticipated because of the reduction in tax revenue. because of COVID-19 is really commendable. The police department has done some incredible training and certification as well in achieving the ILEAP certification. So thank you, Chief, for leading that, as well as what's really most telling, considering what we've been going through the last couple of weeks, that the police department's had no negative criticism, significant criticism in the last 4 years. And that's truly commendable given the state of other police departments in the United States. So, you know, and that's just this year, right? I know some of it was working up to it, but that's just this year. In addition, what about the trailer that's gone and the annex, our lovely annex that we don't have to sit in? And I'm sure all of the surrounding neighbors are so happy that that thing is gone. A sustainable vendor that's in the caboose. Really, I just want to make sure I thank anybody else on the board forget something that or want to mention something that I forgot.
Got a new police station and a fire station
Yeah.
after 30 years of promises.
Right, right.
And a lot of yellow fences are gone downtown.
Yeah. Yep.
That's true too.
And we saved home rule.
Okay, yeah, the parking lot.
Yeah.
The parking lot back there. So a thank you to everybody for all your hard work and dedication. And as we move into our next chapter, everybody well knows that my horse in the race for mayor lost, but I wanted everybody to know that I'm really committed to creating a really strong working relationship and ensuring the success of Jeff and the rest of the board that's incoming, Sarah, Trisha, Scott, and whoever else Jeff might end up appointing and that we'll bring on board. So thank you for indulging me. I hope I didn't go over my time, and I wanted to make sure you guys all heard that and I could see everybody shaking their head and nodding. So thanks.
Thank you.
You have 5 more minutes, Kathleen.
It's still under a quarter of the time Jeff usually uses, so go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move on to staff.
That's all I had.
Administrator Johnson.
Thank you, Trustee Mahoney, for that wonderful run through of accomplishments. I can save my thoughts for later, but we will be, so the way the May 3rd meeting does happen, and it'll kind of be like a transition. So Kirsten's not here. Catherine, please make sure Kirsten comes, because we do want to have a small time to recognize everybody, and we have a little something for you. So other than that.
So are we doing that meeting in person then?
That's up to the board. That is not my decision. So I was just awaiting direction on that.
I'm cool with virtual cake.
Virtual cake.
Full calories too.
Virtual cake.
I should have a lot more virtual calories actually, but anyway.
Okay, well, you can let us
way.
know if you somehow don't want the virtual platform. I think it would be fine because we can make deliveries of what we'd like to deliver. So the other item I have is in 2 days, it's Administrative Professionals Day. And a few years ago, you know, when I took over, we decided to expand this, not just to recognize, you know, our traditional administrative professionals, but everybody in the village, because that's really a lot of what we do and what we are. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the staff, all of the staff at the Village of East Dundee. We usually have a nice luncheon. We're not able to do that. So I have arranged for a small gift, which I'm in the process of distributing. And I'll make sure that I give one to the board as well. But I just wanted to thank everybody, especially people like Catherine, who doesn't often, you know, get recognized enough for what she does for the village. Really, the backbone when you need people to do things for you that you just don't have time to do for yourself. Or, I also call her the pit bull. Like, whenever there's a phone call I don't want to make, I have her do it, and she does it, and she gets it done. She stalks people, but also the department heads. I mean, Kathleen summed it up. I mean, I'm not doing this all on my own. The department heads is an amazing group of leadership that we are lucky to have. So I wish I had time to thank all of the staff, which I usually do, and then throw in a few jokes here or there at a luncheon, but I don't. So I'm going to do it now, and I'll make sure that I distribute my little token to you over the next week or so. So thank you, staff, and that's all I have.
Very good. Village attorney.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to let the board know that I'll be providing a memo to the village president and board of trustees with the process to be used to fill the vacancies in office that are coming up, as well as addressing the issue that there will be 3 unfilled seats, or excuse me, that there were 3 trustee seats up in this election and only 2 people ran to fill them. So how does the village board deal with that unfilled seat? I've been spending time looking into these issues, and I just want to let you know that an opinion letter will be coming out later this week that'll be distributed to the president and board of trustees.
Very good. Building department.
Am I on here?
You are.
Okay. I did meet with a potential new tenant in Prairie Lakes. It's called Appleton Electronics. They're a subsidiary of Emerson Electronics. They're a testing laboratory. They are looking to occupy 20,000 square feet in the same building that Chicago Nut and Bolt is. So they did hire an architect to start designing. We met with them because we wanted to make sure that their use would be an allowed use. And so they're pretty much on board. And then I also got contacted by an architect who's working on the 312 East Main and the 307 Jackson properties that Roger Shelton owns. And they're looking to do an office building there. So the architect has the information he needs to get started. So that should be coming forth also.
Very good. Police.
Police department has no report, Leo.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Village engineer.
No report this evening.
Public works.
Other than a little snow coming tomorrow, up to a ½ inch during the daytime hours. Winter's coming back for a day. Other than that, nope. No report.
Thank you. Finance.
No report.
All right, thank you. That concludes our staff reports. That takes us to public comment and non-agenda items. If we have anybody from the public that would like to address this board, speak up now.
Leo?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes,
Miller? Chris Caius, County Board member for District 23 in Kane County. Just like to thank you for providing the accessibility to your meetings and comment that the website is very good as far as accessibility is concerned. And I just like to mention a few things. We're working with the milk pail. It's not exactly your territory, but it's right next to you there. Had a meeting this morning with the owners and the managers there to maybe phase in and open up the milk pail to more business in the future. So look for that. That's going to be a sort of phased in so we can keep it under control. And to remind everybody that we are having a grand opening for our multi-use facility on the 30th down in St. Charles on Highway 38 in Peck. It's the new coroner's office, coroner's facility, the emergency management office, and the maintenance building. And it'll be open to the public in the afternoon. You can check our website to see the accessibility if you haven't been invited directly. We are also continuing to work on vaccination sites in the northern end of the county. We've been able to open one as a cooperation with Cook County, Kane County, and Elgin, which is not too far away. We made some good milestones on getting vaccinations out to the public. And hopefully we'll have even more access here in the future. And lastly, thank you for allowing me in and for the last little bit, or for the last couple of years, I guess. I've been eavesdropping on your meetings. And if you have any questions, I'd answer them at this point for the county, King County.
Any questions for Chris?
Yeah, I got a question, Chris. I went by Long Meadow Parkway. It seems like it's pretty close to being done. Is there a update on the completion?
I think it's still the end of July, first part of August. I think that's what they're tentatively, given all the weather conditions. Of course, accessible from Route 25 to Sandbloom Road through the new roundabout. And they're planning on, I believe, finishing up late this summer. I don't believe the tolls will go in for a year yet, but it should be open, I think, to the public late this summer. But
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Okay, we are going to go into executive session. Board members, you did receive a second email with a second meeting attachment on that. I'm going to give us 5 minutes to rejoin. It's going to be the board and the attorney at this point. And then we will not be returning here. So I will ask for a motion to recess to executive session for personnel.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Catherine, you call the roll, please?
Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Sullivan,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
and President Miller.
Yes, very good, folks. Sign off here. We will see you in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.